Hey everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's video, I'm doing an epic eyeshadow palette declutter. I decluttered the rest of my office about a month ago. It was really a mess in here and I have felt so great about coming in and working in here every day. So I asked you guys what you would want to see as far as another declutter, and overwhelmingly people wanted eyeshadow palettes. So I've collected all my eyeshadow palettes from around the room, and well, let me just say there are a lot of them. I've got them all set up on the windowsill behind me here, and I've also tried to break them into categories so that it would be a little bit easier to look at them and kind of go through them. I think it goes without saying, but I will say it anyway, that of course I am a YouTuber, I am in the beauty space, and so reviewing eyeshadow and makeup is part of my job here, and so of course I have more eyeshadow palettes than the average bear. Anyway, it is time for me to purge. There are a few things here that I probably haven't picked up or used or reached for in at least a year. A lot of the stuff that I have, I've used it a couple times to review it, and then it's practically brand new. So while some of the charities won't take it because they do want brand new stuff, a lot of people in my life do want it, so it can be repurposed. It can have a new life with a new owner who's going to love and appreciate it just a lot more than I do. Let me just touch on the one that I'm wearing today. I just did a really simple eyeshadow look because it's late in the day that I'm getting started. Had a lot of stuff to do this morning. So anyway, the eyeshadow palette I'm wearing today is my Zoeva Basic Moment palette. This has been like my go-to palette all summer. Super simple, really nice colors, really soft. Can't do anything crazy or major with it, but it just gives the most beautiful eyeshadow looks, and I love it. So that's definitely a keeper. That one is going right back in here in my eyeshadow bin that I keep on my desk. Generally, how I arrange my eyeshadows, having so many, is I probably keep about 10 of my favorite palettes in the bin on my desk. This is like a desk accessory that you would get for organizing like your pens and your mail and things. I think I got this at Target. I'll see if I can find one and link it below. All right, so I thought it would be fun to start with the really expensive ones, and so probably the most expensive palette that I've ever bought was this Vizi Art Palette. This is one that was so popular a few years ago. Everybody was reviewing it. Everyone was saying it was like the best palette on the planet. I got it, I tried it, I just couldn't get the hang of this palette. It's just not for me, and at 80 bucks, I was like, it's not worth it. Literally, it's been sitting here for probably 4 or 5 years, completely unused. This can definitely find a better home, so that is going into the giveaway pile. And then I have a little Vizi Art, because a few years after that one, I wanted to try another one just to see if maybe it was just me, or I was cranky about Vizi Art, or who knows. And I had also heard that the shimmers were really good, and where that one was all matte, maybe I should try the shimmers. So a couple years ago in the Sephora sale, I grabbed this little Vizi Art mini palette, and I didn't like it any better than the original Vizi Art palette that I had. The mattes definitely weren't for me. The shimmers were nice, but I don't really love the colors in here. This is probably the only one that I think I would ever get a lot of use out of, because you know I love my shimmery like taupey tans. I haven't reached for it, so that one is going as well. So this past Sephora sale, I bought this Tom Ford quad because I wanted to see if they were really fantastic. I used it once. I mean, I haven't had it that long. I feel like I really do need to play with it a little more, but I gotta say, I just didn't get the shades in here. I don't know, so I'm gonna keep this one around because I really haven't played with it that much. So Tom Ford, you get to stay for another day. Okay, so here's one that I bought in an airport. It's a Chanel quad, and I thought that this one looked like it was going to be the perfect shades for me because I loved this color as the mid-tone matte. I mean, it's a good way deep in the crease color, but there isn't really a light enough color in here. Like, there's no pale shades. This is all mid-tones, and I'm like, what do you do with a palette that's all mid-tones? You have to bring in another palette to use with it. So I don't know if I just selected the wrong one or what. I mean, the quality on these is beautiful. The compact is beautiful. Everything about it is beautiful. I might just hang on to that one just to do a little bit more play. All right, so two of my other high-end palettes are the Dior 5 colors palettes, and I love both of these. These are going nowhere. These are my favorites. I use these year in, year out. This one is the 757 Dream palette, and that's definitely more my kind of colorway because that is a nice cool palette. And see, this is certainly a very light pale that you can use on the inner corner. This is a really nice pale color that you can use in the crease. So that one is a perfect palette for me. You know, it doesn't have to be big to be perfect. And this one is the 647 Undress palette. And again, another perfect little palette for me. So those two are definitely faves, and I'm definitely keeping them. All right, and then the other two high-end ones are my Marc Jacob palettes, and I love both of these. I've had the Stiletto palette longer. This one is, of course, the cool one. I tend to buy the cooler one first. And look at this guy. Isn't it beautiful? I mean, these Marc Jacobs palettes, the eyeshadows are so rich and so creamy, and the color payout is so great, and it just gives you everything in a tiny palette that's really sleek and glam looking. So anyway, let me just show you the Glambition palette. This is the newer one that I've gotten. That one's a little bit warmer, but you see how it's not like overly warm? There's nothing in there that you would consider like an orange. So this is perfect, and I love this. I grabbed the Influencer palettes, so here they are. There's 5 or 6 of those. There's a few Makeup Geek palettes here. I have these two that I purchased, these two that were sent in PR, and also some things that I purchased in there. So this is like the little quad that they have at Target. This is a cute little quad. It definitely has the colors that I like, and I do kind of reach for this one a lot and use it, so definitely going to keep that. I love the Makeup Geek eyeshadows in general. I think the quality is just so good on Marlena's eyeshadows. You cannot go wrong with them. This palette used to be a fave, but I gotta say I haven't used it in a couple of years. It's getting a little old, and so I think this will be in the give it away or throw it away pile. I'm not sure. I'll have to decide which things are give it away and which ones are throw it away. Okay, this one doesn't look pretty, but this is one of the newer Makeup Geek palettes that they sent me. They did send this in PR. They sent both of these. One was all neutrals and all eyeshadows, and one was all the bright colors. These just aren't up my alley, so I'm going to be giving this away. Most of these are fairly unused. I don't think I even swatched them. I could even do a viewer giveaway. If any of you like these Makeup Geek eyeshadows, let me know, but I'm definitely going to put that in the giveaway pile. This palette, I took out a lot of the neutrals that I just wasn't going to use, and I made room for 4 square pans, and I love that these are completely customizable and you can do that. I'm probably going to get a couple of blushes to put in here, so I'll have my blush, bronzer, highlighter, and all my eyeshadows, so that I made up like my own personal travel palette. So this is definitely a keeper. This is going in the main rotation bin because I use this all the time. This is one of my other favorites for the summer, has been some of the shades from this palette. And the Makeup Geek eyeshadows are always great quality, so easy to work with. The Tati palette, this was not my jam from the get-go. You know, I tried to work with the glitters, oh my gosh. Didn't have success with that, and as you can see, lots of oranges in here, lots of rust, lots of colors that are just not up my alley. Overall, the palette just wasn't my thing, so that is going in the go away pile. And then the last two are the Emily palettes. These were the Makeup Revolution Emily Noel palettes, and I bought both of these to review for you guys. Looking at the two palettes, this one, you know, it's just less color, less everything, but it does have a shimmer and a couple other things, so this was much more something that I would reach for again, so I'm going to keep this one. But this one, too many colors that I just wouldn't use in here, so I think that one I am ready to part with. And of course, I'm making way now for my Wayne Goss palette, which I'm hoping will arrive any day now. I ordered it, I don't know, maybe about a week ago. All right, the Anastasia palette. Oh, you guys, a couple years ago, these were everything. I loved all of these. They were like the best of 2018, the best of 2019. I mean, just such good palettes. I love the quality on these. I love the shades on these. Not every shade is 100% up my alley. This one is the Sultry palette. I love this one with the exception of this color, the red. Everything else I can 100% use, so definitely keeping that one, keeping it in the desktop rotation. The Soft Glam palette, I think this was the first one I got, and I didn't really want to buy it because it was a little bit too warm for me, and while I love the quality on it, I never really used it because In fact, it was a little bit too warm for me. So I'm going to put that in the giveaway pile. And then the Norvina palette, which of course is the cooler, more lavendery colorway. Also very colorful for me. I did love this one, but I gotta say I haven't reached for that much color in a long time, so I think I'm gonna put this one in the giveaway pile too. All right, let's do Urban Decay next. I've got quite a few of those. Most of these were probably sent in PR. I know I purchased a couple of them, so thank you Urban Decay for all your support over the years. Urban Decay Naked 2, the Naked Basics. This was one of the first palettes that I ever loved. And as you can see, I used it so much that I hit pan on it. The colors are perfect for me. I feel like I should just buy a new one of these and start using it again. Here is the Naked Petite Heat palette. I believe this one is almost completely unused. Definitely can do a giveaway with that one. Someone can use that one and give it some love. Ooh, the Backtalk palette. Backtalk was my mothership for a while. What I especially loved about this palette wasn't the eyeshadows so much as the face palette in here, the blushes and the highlighter. Wow, this is such a stroll down memory lane. This was a great product, but as far as the eyeshadows, way too pink, way too red, way too much color for me. That can go away. Here is Naked 3. All the taupes and the lavenders and everything. I am definitely going to keep this one, just not in the prime rotation. Here is Naked Honey. Naked Honey didn't do anything for me. That's going in the give it away, I was going to say the naked bin, the giveaway bin. Naked Reloaded. That is such a pretty outside. I love how this one looks. Ooh, and this is pretty. This one I could definitely play with a little more. That is a gorgeous palette. You know, all the Urban Decay palettes, I gotta say, the quality is so good, which is why I kept so many of them, because I always love them, and there's always some shades in there that you can use. Hey, who remembers this one? The Gwen Stefani Urban Decay collab? I was in love with this one. This one, if all other eyeshadow palettes had fallen off the face of the earth, I would have been happy because of this palette, because I had it and I used it every single day. I still love the thing, but I gotta say, I haven't reached for it in probably 2 years minimum. I think that one's gonna go. Wah. I don't know. Hard to part with things, isn't it? Especially when they have like a fond memory. And of course, the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. This one, wow, a lot of color. Colorful people, you would love this palette. It's gorgeous. I actually made some really pretty looks out of this one and I really liked it a lot, but haven't reached for it in a long time, so that one can go. These are the drugstore palettes, so let's pop through these really quickly. First one is BH Cosmetics Lovin London palette. I love this palette. It is one of my favorites. It's currently unavailable, but I'm going to keep it for using not in videos, just in my own personal time, so that's a keeper. Oh, then the Colourpop Fame palette. This is one of my favorites from a couple of years ago. I love this guy. Perfect mix of mattes and shimmers, warms and cools. This is, to me, it was like almost a perfect palette. Keeping Physicians Formula Butter Eyeshadow. Thought I would give this a try. Tried this a couple times. I did not love this palette. I didn't love the color payout. Really had a hard time kind of using this one. That's going to go in the giveaway pile. Covergirl. I have 4 Covergirl palettes. Of these 4, the True Naked Nudes is my favorite one that I'm going to keep. This is like one that has been a favorite for years and years. Talk about a simple but perfect palette. I absolutely love this one. And I take this one with me when I travel a lot, so that's going up here in the desk. I've got 4 Milani palettes. I can already tell you that I'm getting rid of these 2 and keeping these 2. This one is Bold Obsessions and this one is Soft and Sultry from the drugstore. These are 2 of the best palettes that you can get. Hands down, highly recommend either of these 2. Definitely keeping them on the desk in the prime rotation of favorites. Here's, oh, Flower Nude Remix. This looks barely touched. I like the shades in this palette. I feel like I should give this one a chance. I'm going to keep it. I've got 2 Maybelline palettes. This is the City Mini. This is Nudes of New York. This one is a little warm for me. I think I'm going to put that one in the get rid of it bin, which is filling up. And I like this one, so I think I'll keep this one. Here's something that I got recently. This is the Profusion Sultry palette. Yes, again, way too colorful for me. It's just not the kind of colors that I tend to use, so that I think is going to go in the giveaway bin. Here are 3 little palettes that are just on my desk for some reason. So these 2 are the Sephora I Love palettes, and I love both of these, but I gotta say I reach for one more than the other. This one is the Light Cool. That's the one that I use all the time. This one is the Medium Cool. I like this one. It's slightly warmer, but it's not like orangey and rusty, so keeping both. And then this is one that I got maybe about 1.5 years ago, and I really enjoy this one. It was upside down. It is the Bare Minerals Gen Nude palette. These are really sweet little palettes. The problem with the collection is that there's not a huge difference between the different colorways. Like this is the neutral one, and this one seems to me like it would be the kind of warmish pinkish one, but this one is really pretty and I love it. Let me grab the tarts next. We'll go through those. Okay, so this one, a longtime favorite, Make Magic Happen. This one has been like my go-to everyday palette for about 3.5 years now. I love this guy, so right up my alley. Good mix of warms and cools. As you can see, I hit pan on a couple of pans there, but I could still use this one up a little bit more, so that's going in the main rotation. Then here is Tartlet in Bloom. I am a newcomer to Tartlet in Bloom. I was on the fence about this one for years. I finally just bought it over last winter maybe, and I love it. So this is a really great palette. Definitely keeping this one. And then the Tarte Clay Play 2. This one is awesome too. Guess what? Apparently Tarte is the real winner, because Tarte and Marc Jacobs, are those the only 2 that I'm keeping every palette of theirs that I own? Yeah, only problem is I dropped it and I broke the highlighter, but this is a nice palette because it also gives you the face stuff, the blush, and the bronzer. So here's an Estee Lauder eyeshadow palette. This Buxom palette was sent in PR. These colors are 100% not me. I never used it. I have been curious about these Buxom palettes because you can swap in whatever colors you want, and there are some of their shades that I would like to get, so I kind of feel like I could just keep the palette, swap these all out, and just replace them with colors that I want. So I'm going to give that a try. So I am going to keep the palette just for the box. Here's Benefit Easy Smoke and Eyes. This palette was awful. I hated it. It had very little color payout, and then it disappeared right away throughout the day. So that one I think I'm just going to trash, because why would I want to give away a yucky palette? Okay, here's Laura Geller Iconic New York Collection. Do you guys remember this one? I love this palette. So beautiful, like just in the pan, like that combination of colors, it just dances with my eyes and just makes me feel so happy. This one just has sentimental value. I don't reach for it much anymore, but I'm going to hang on to it anyway, just because one of the first palettes that I really fell for hard. And oh, here's some Morphe palette. Okay, this big Morphe palette. This is a 25B Bronzed Mocha palette. This guy I think was my best palette of 2018 maybe. Look at that, a big palette with all my shades. Oh my gosh, so good, so beautiful. I love this one. Definitely a keeper. I don't reach for it that much, but it's because it's been up there, and I think I'm going to put it down here. This one, the Violet Voss Pro palette. This was called Taupe Notch right there. I love this palette. I loved it. You guys never really got on the Violet Voss bandwagon, but this was one of my favorites for about a year there. I used this one exclusively. I am not ready to get rid of it, so it's going to go in the keeper bin. All right, let's do MAC palettes next. This is going to be like a sentimental journey as well. This one I believe was from the Nordstrom sale last year. I really love this palette. It's a really sweet little palette. Again, you know, once it's sold out, it was gone. Can't use it for you guys in a video, but I can use it myself. So, ow! That one bit me. Definitely going to keep that one. So this one was the X15 Cool Neutrals. This was a favorite palette for quite a while, but even more favorite than that one was the Nordstrom Now palette. I used it constantly, but I haven't reached for either of these in a long, long time. You guys remember how MAC was everything and the MAC eyeshadows were everything when I first started on YouTube for sure, like 7 years ago to 5 years ago. Now I feel like people aren't requesting MAC and no one's talking about MAC anymore, but they do make some of the best eyeshadows, and so I'm kind of reluctant to get rid of these even though I haven't reached for them in a while. So I'm gonna give away the X15 Cool palette. And then here is my collection of Huda palettes. I have exactly 2, and I'm probably going to get rid of both of them. I really like how this palette looks in the palette, but on me it just looked like I had pink eye. Oh, my Smashbox palettes. I had a love affair with Smashbox for a while there too. So if you're a beginner, I think that Smashbox is a good brand to look to for a palette. Like, they have these really tiny, compact palettes, but that are jam-packed full of good colors, and I gotta say I still do reach for this one all the time. This is the Covershot Minimalist eye palette. Of course, minimalist, much like me, minimal color in there, very neutral. So I love that. That is staying in the front rotation of palettes that I love. I don't think they make this anymore. This was from the Drawn In Decked Out. This was like a set of eyeshadow palettes. All right, Too Faced is the last brand. So here is the Too Faced Natural Matte Palette. This one I liked a lot. I used it a lot. Haven't used it in quite a while. I think I'm just gonna move it over here to the box of stuff that I'm keeping. The last palette is this Too Faced Chocolate Bar. What I mainly bought it for was because I wanted to do like a silvery thing, and I love this little pan here, but I never could get it to quite work out. So I'm going to part ways with the Too Faced Chocolate Bar. Here's the bin of palettes that I'm going to get rid of. Ooh, this is heavy. Who knew eyeshadow could weigh so much? So here's my little bin of palettes that I'm keeping. So that's good. I managed to clear out a few from there. All right, so that's it. I'm done with my little purge. Thanks so much for helping me decide what to keep and what to let go of. So thanks so much for your time. I always appreciate your watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.